Hey guys, I'm very happy to feature a game with me and one of my good friends. Um, Once again, if you all want to come play test Order and Chaos with me, I'm more than happy to. Do drop me a message on YouTube or on my Octagon. I'm free to play and I would really love to. Better than playing with random people out there. Um, there have been lots of random games out there that I'm not very happy with, that ended up being that didn't make the cut for featuring on my video channel. So let's get down to this game. It's Edward Kim versus Titan Transnational. What kind of deck am I running? I'm running an all solutions deck. Overmind takes care of the low strength ice. David takes care of the high strength ice. Mem strips make sure that Overmind comes with many power tokens. So you don't really need the Dugas into Echo Mind combo to make that work. Mem strips is so powerful, and I'm going to exploit this with fullest. With these two programs alone, I can easily make very easy face checks, whether it be powerful runs like Account Siphon or a 11 deep medium dig. All of these are possible, and this ID provides the avenue just for that. To bolster my economy long term, I have Day Job and Magnum Opus, so I shouldn't need to draw too much on my deck. In fact, this deck wants to get going up as quickly as possible, so drawing shouldn't take place too often. Alright, I'm playing against Titan Transnational, so I should expect fast advance. And I need to stop the Atlas train, which means the first Atlas cannot leave the station. That can't really be helped because he can easily just advance his space ice and trick of light off it, so I need to make sure I get early accesses. Now, that's one thing that this deck lacks, HQ multi-access, which is a problem because Edward Kim wants to see all the cards in HQ and trash them. One-turn destruction doesn't really work in this deck because it needs extra clicks. So my first thing here is to just take lots of credits with Day Job. This is usually a good thing to do if the opponent does not reveal any weaknesses. With early hedge fund and double ice, the best opening you can ask for as the corp, I stand no chance running against his servers. So the Day Job allows me to get lots of credits, which means that I can always threaten to challenge his scoring servers should he attempt to make one. It's better than playing all my cards early on, leaving me with few credits. This gives him a very good opportunity to score agendas. If I'm rich, he has to think twice about scoring agendas quickly. So here I tried to run his R&D, realized it was a big mistake because I rather have R&D unrest so that I can siphon him to 0 credits and then run R&D for free, since he cannot rest ice. Now here I draw into very important cards, all my memory. Very important here, I immediately install them. This is my basic setup that I need to get going. Now he attempts to rush out agenda here. He can do it so safely because I'm not criminal, I don't have inside job. So looking at how confident he is at rushing out the agenda, it might not be an agenda, but I'm still going to go for it. Better to contest it than let him better to contest it than let him get it away for free. So he resists the ice, and immediately when I saw the ice, I knew that what was inside there was an agenda, and it was a pretty big one too. That is because Lotus Field is the one ice you put on your scoring remote to ensure that no one gets in. And high risk investment, well, that was high risk indeed. A very high risk play by my opponent, and he lost a lot from that. The 6-point swing in agenda points basically dictated the pace for the rest of the game. So now I'm very well aware that remote in there could very well be a Project Atlas. But I figured that I could let him get away with one Project Atlas since I scored a big 3-pointer already. Instead, what I'm going to do right now is to gain traction by installing by playing Sure Gamble and then account siphoning him, forcing him to rest his HQ ice. I know I probably won't get the siphon off, simply because yes, there are 2 ice on HQ, so he can choose which ice to rest to minimize the amount of credits that I gain from account siphon. So here I force him into actually resing his Mark Gale on the remote. This is very good for me. Of course, I don't go through with the siphon, I simply access one card, and it turns out to be a wraparound, which I cannot destroy. I wanted to destroy it with Imp, but I was 1 click short. I wanted to clear the tags in case he let me follow through with the siphon. Now, Mark Gale is very interesting. This siphon rather was very interesting because it completely revealed that the remote was not a Project Atlas that I was expecting. In fact, the Atlas was on R&D, which I quickly sniped off, followed by a snare, which he couldn't trigger. That's why I felt safe running last click. You have to figure that he's running some sort of flat line. Alright, so things are looking very good for me. I'm on 5 points, he's on 0. I won't say I have this game wrapped up yet because I still need to find a way to refresh my Overmind, but I do actually have a way to do so. I just need to install memstrips, install imp over Overmind, then retrieve my Overmind from archives, from the heap rather. So basically, I'm not really giving him any chance right here. Here I remark that I need 2 turns to find Corroder because Overmind is prohibitively expensive to res to break a wraparound with Overmind. So I had to draw up to find a solution, and yes, I drew straight into my David, which was my solution against wraparound, breaking it for 1 power token instead of 7 credits from Overmind. So I knew that I could contest the remote if he attempted to do anything funny there. That's why I saved 1 token left on Overmind so that I can run his remote if need be. In the meantime, I clicked Magnum Opus since I found it through drawing, and I wanted to discard the David. The duplicate David is useless, but that would completely telegraph my plans. He would know that it's unsafe to score behind the remote, and I want to allow him to a false sense of security. So I trashed the I've had worse instead. A little dangerous against Wayland, but at this point it should be safe because he's pretty poor. So he places something in the remote, probably an agenda, not gonna check. And I continue setting myself up with the second copy of Memstrips. Now Memstrips is so good now. With that copy, I have 11 memory, 4 of which are being used. In the meantime, he does score an agenda, it's a false lead. Not too much worry there, just have to make sure I don't run second click. Now, I'll continue to place pressure on R&D, but he reses the wraparound. Interesting, the wraparound was on R&D, not the remote. So I bounce off, not gonna break it, and then I play the Parasite on the Enigma to threaten him. I have no HQ pressure in my hand, but after seeing the first Siphon, he should be afraid of it, and hopefully he'll spend his ice and time to ice up HQ instead of the other 2 servers, which are the servers I intend to pressure, R&D and the remote. Now I run archives in case he was being sneaky with his discards. So far he has been feeding me a lot of cards with Vigil. That is something that you haven't really noticed, but it has done so much work this game because his hand is always flooded with cards. And yeah, he has no way to get rid of them because he's so poor, he can't install all his cards. So now he attempts to get an agenda out and pumping. It's time for me to enact my plan. First click, install the David over the Overmind. This is a very key step that I've been reserving. This allows me to put the Overmind in my heap, and since he did not ice up archives, I'm going to click for Magnum Opus credits first. No, I'm going to retrieve my Overmind first. Here, then now I wait for him to trigger false lead in response. If that is an agenda, he would probably fire off the false lead. He does not do so, so I'm going to make the run. On third click instead, in case it's a ghost branch or something, he does not rest the ice, and turns out it is a geothermal fracking for the win. So basically, he conceded the game there because he knew that it was too difficult for him to come back the moment he lost the first agenda. So you might be wondering what sort of crazy janky deck is he running? Playing sweeps, anonymous tips. These seem like very random cards along with wraparounds and Lotus Fields. He's actually playing Super Modernism in Titan Transnational, and I think it is a brilliant way to do so. Compared to your typical Grindel Super Modernism, you have the biggest benefit obviously is the 7 extra influence that nearly doubles the number of cards you can splash. More snares, more burst economy to make up for the fact that you don't start with 10 credits, and yeah, a lot more flexibility. And the best thing is that most people don't even expect it unless it becomes a big hit. Most people think that you're playing Trick of Light, but well, you can rush all your agendas out and they won't be prepared for it. But the best thing, I feel, is the fact that when you score an Atlas even unadvanced, you can actually get 1 Atlas counter on the Atlas. This allows you to tutor for your last Scorched Earth, your Seesaws, or your next agenda. That's so good. That's a benefit that even Building a Better World or Grindel cannot boast. The ability to get lots of tutors like that. So I feel that it's a very good idea to play Super Modernism in. Whether it's more effective than Grindel or not remains to be seen, but it's something definitely worth a shot. I'm going to try that out myself. Thanks for watching and happy net running.